For the first hot take from LP Cobra, he says Carlos Correa gets traded to a contender and goes nuclear. Now, the Twins are in a weird spot right now. They're 49-52 at the time of this recording, 10.5 back in the division, 4 back in the wild card race. And I wasn't very high on this Twins team coming into the year. Sure, a good amount of talent on the Major League roster, but a lot of injury risk as well. And I felt like they weren't quite there organizational depth-wise for guys to come up and contribute at the Major League roster and make an impact. So I feel like the Twins, they're in a pretty good spot if they wanted to go through a bit of a retool here to help set themselves up for next year and the next couple of years beyond that. I think they have the pieces to go out there and get some deals done. Now, Carlos Correa, I don't think is one of those guys, so I'm going to give a thumbs down to this hot take. But Correa, he recently just sprained his ankle, but before that, the numbers weren't looking very good, a 99 on the WRC+, and as of right now, his contract is pretty underwater, so I don't think a deal is going to be possible here by the deadline, maybe in the offseason, because there's a lot of money involved here, so I don't think Correa is going to get moved, and I don't think Byron Buxton is going to get moved either. You know, he's on a long-term deal with the Twins. He recently came out and said, hey, I want to be a Minnesota Twin for life, and he has a no-trade clause, so I don't think Buxton's going to go anywhere. Now, maybe Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez went down recently, so Joe Ryan's really been picking up the slack in the rotation. So if the Twins really wanted to cash in here for someone like Ryan, I mean, they would get a haul for him. Like the Red Sox have been connected with him. They would definitely get a lot of prospects and probably some young Major League ready talent as well. But I don't know if the Twins would want to move him. There's really no reason to, especially if they want to compete next year. He still has 2.5 years of control left. So I could see the Twins hanging on to him unless they get blown away. Now, if the Twins were open to moving Joe Ryan, I'll throw another team into the mix, and that's the Dodgers. You know they're going to be active at the deadline. They're picking up the phones left and right. They got a good farm system, but I also think they match up very well in a trade with the Twins if they were to go this route. As of right now, you got Ryan Jeffers as your catcher, but he's only under control until the end of next season. Taking a look at Baseball America's top 30 for the Twins, as of right now, you got Ricardo Olivar at number 16, but his defense isn't graded very well. You got a couple other guys down here, Mickey Gasper, Noah Cardenas at 28 and 29. On the pipeline rankings, you got Kadeem Zhao at number 29, Diego Cartaya. Remember, he came from the Dodgers as well. He's at 23. But if the Twins were looking to boost the catching within their organization, well, I got my eyes on Dalton Rushing. I'm going to talk about him in a little bit, but this guy is blocked with the Dodgers, right? You got Will Smith at catcher. You got Freddie Freeman at first base. Maybe he could play the outfield, but maybe the Dodgers could dangle him in a possible trade here to really bolster their rotation. I mean, could you imagine this rotation with Joe Ryan in it when Blake Snell comes back? I mean, that's diabolical. And when it comes to the Dodgers, like I said, they got a good farm system. So you could throw Dalton Rushing in there, maybe send back a younger cost-controlled pitcher like Emmett Sheehan, who is back this year. That could give the Twins something for the rotation for the next few seasons here. Maybe throw in a couple of more prospects, and you could get a deal done here. However, I could see one of these guys getting moved. You got guys like Griffin Jax, Yohan Duran at the back end of the bullpen there. They got very good value. Teams are always looking for bullpen help, so I could definitely see them listening on some offers there. And maybe someone like Willie Castro, who's got a lot of versatility. He's having a solid year at the plate, hitting .257 with a .347 on base, a .431 on the slugging, a .119 WRC+, 10 homers. He can play some third base, so a team like the Yankees, the Mariners could make some sense. And he's not going to be too expensive because he is going to be a free agent after this season. Yohan Duran, I definitely think he could end up getting moved, having a very good year. ERA at 1.94, FIP at a 2.40. A team like the Dodgers, they're having a lot of injuries with the pitching staff right now. A team like the Phillies could use another arm, in my opinion, whether or not that's Yohan Duran or Griffin Jax. So I think the Twins, they are set up here to make some deals, but I don't think Correa is going to get moved, and I don't think Buxton's going to get moved either. And I'll probably lean towards Joe Ryan staying put in Minnesota for now. For the next hot take from Brendan, he says the Rays shocked the baseball world, winning the Sandy Alcantara sweepstakes. However, in a separate trade, they also moved Pete Fairbanks. Now, I like this one because the Rays always seem to do something that you weren't expecting, something out of left field, but I don't see this one. Now, with Sandy having a tough season after coming back from Tommy John, ERA above a 7, FIP at a 4.66. Now, could the Rays bring him in, maybe help him get back on track? Sure, has a good track record. I do think he's going to get it going here eventually, but what I actually see the Rays doing more is maybe moving someone out of their rotation like Shane Baz or Taj Bradley or even Zach Littell, who would be cheaper. Now, you might be asking, Robbie, why would they trade Baz or Bradley? Well, Shane McClanahan should be coming back here soon, so I could see the Rays taking advantage of their high values while they still can, because you got to remember with the Rays, small market team, they have an eye on the present and an eye on the future. Now, Taj Bradley, Shane Baz, two talented young pitchers, both with very good stuff, good velo as well. When it comes to their values, it's very good. Taj Bradley right around $47 million in surplus median value. Shane Baz right around 34 right now. So they can get some pretty solid packages back for one of these guys. You know, maybe a team like the St. Louis Cardinals, who are going to be going through a transition in the front office here. Maybe they want to get a young stud of a guy to have in their rotation for the next few years. You've got the Dodgers as well. They've been having a lot of injuries with the pitching staff this year, and they have a good farm system to be able to get a deal done if they wanted to. You've also got the Mets. They've been having some injuries in the rotation this year. And don't forget, Clay Holmes, this is his first year as a starting pitcher, so is there going to be some kind of an innings limit with him? Do they move him to the bullpen at some point and then maybe add a starter for the rotation? I don't know. And then you got a team like the Chicago Cubs. They could use some starting pitching as well. They've got some solid position player prospects at the top of their farm to be able to get a deal done. So with the Rays, could they add Sandy? I mean, yeah, sure, anything is possible, and they would be able to get him at a pretty good rate because his value is down right now because of the bad season he's having. But I could also see the Marlins maybe hanging on to Sandy because of that diminished value, maybe try to restore it a little bit for the rest of this year and move him in the offseason. Now, when it comes to Pete Fairbanks, I could definitely see the Rays moving him. Like I said earlier, the Rays always like to take advantage of value while it's high. And with Fairbanks, he's in the last year of his contract, does have a club option for next year. So I can see the Rays looking to take advantage of this. Teams are always looking for bullpen help. You got the Phillies out there. The Tigers could use another arm as well. So I do expect the Rays to make some moves. So I've been busting it in the gym lately, trying to get myself in tip-top shape for trade season, but good training is a waste unless you don't have a good, clean source of protein, and that's why I'm excited to team up with Transparent Labs. I'm telling you, I've had a ton of different protein powders in the past, some good, some very bad as well, and I'm going to keep it real. I'm only going to team up with a supplement company unless they have a good and clean product. Now, with Transparent Labs, it's a 100% grass-fed whey protein isolate, which only has a handful of natural ingredients that I can actually pronounce, no artificial sweeteners, no dyes, none of that garbage, and it's not only helping me hit my daily goal for protein, but it's a good, clean source of protein. Now, the calorie to protein ratio is off the charts. 130 calories per scoop, 28 grams of protein. Like I've said, I've had a lot of protein powders in the past, and that is second to none. That is an awesome ratio. Now, it's also a pure whey isolate, so it's easy to absorb, easy to digest, and the best part is they had third-party testing done for accuracy and safety, so you know what you're consuming. And hey, I'm all about having a good, clean protein source, but let's be real here. We all want to know if it tastes good too, and I can honestly say this is one of the best tasting protein powders I've ever had, even if you mix it with just water. They also have 16 different flavors like chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, cinnamon, French toast, chocolate chip banana bread, blueberry pancakes for crying out loud, and even some new flavors that just dropped for the summer like s'mores and salted chocolate caramel. So if you want to try Transparent Labs grass-fed protein for yourself, which also helps support the channel, head down to the description below. Just click on the link in the description or scan the QR code right here. You can get 10% off your order, which automatically applies at checkout. And also, right now, if you sign up for a whey protein subscription, they're giving away a free protein starter kit, which comes with 5 single-serving pouches in their top flavors, along with a shaker bottle. With that said, let's get back to the video. Up next from SchmidtBoy1620, he says the Cubs trade Owen Casey and Ben Brown to the A's for Mason Miller. Ooh, I love me a juicy trade proposal. Now, do I expect the A's to move Mason Miller? Probably not, but if they were to move someone of high value to bring back a very nice return, Miller could definitely do that for you. Now, with Miller, ERA is at a 4 this year. That is up from last year, but the FIP is still looking really good at a 2.87. He gets a ton of swing and miss, over 14 strikeouts per 9. The walks are up a little bit this year, but this guy's an absolute savage. Great velo, great stuff. Teams would love to have someone like Mason Miller, and he has a ton of control left. He has 4 more seasons of club control after this season. Now, I love the idea of Mason Miller in this bullpen. Now, Daniel Palencia is having a very solid year, but the Cubs really need more swing and miss here. They rank dead last with their relief pitching in strikeouts per 9. Miller would fit like a glove. If they wanted to, maybe they could convert Miller into a starting pitcher next year. I could see that being a possibility. And taking a look here at the whiff leaderboards, Miller actually ranks 4th overall in swinging strike percentage with a 20.3, while the Cubs overall only rank 29th. If not him, I think they can make a call to the Twins about Griffin Jax. He's getting a ton of strikeouts this year. 14 strikeouts per 9. That is diabolical. You got Yohan Duran. He's racking up a lot of strikeouts, not nearly at the rate of a Griffin Jax, but he does get a good amount of swing and miss. Ton of velo with him as well. So I think Duran could be a pretty good fit here. And Emmanuel Clase, as of right now, Clase, he's ranking very well when it comes to swing and miss. 15th overall with a 16.1%. Would the A's actually move Mason Miller? I don't know about that. I think they're getting pretty close to competing here, to being in actual contention. They got a lot of good bats in this lineup. I just think they need to bolster the pitching within the organization, and giving up, one of the best arms in your organization sounds a little crazy to me, but maybe if they could get back a good package in return that could bring back some young starting pitching that can go into the rotation right now, maybe a bat. Could you imagine adding Owen Casey to this lineup that already has a ton of good young bats? My goodness. Now, if you were to take a look at this trade, it is pretty even overall in terms of value. Ben Brown can go to the A's rotation right now. Owen Casey, very close to Major League ready. And then another pitching prospect like Brandon Birdsell. Maybe this could be a possibility. I'm going to say probably not. I think the A's would like to keep Mason Miller, but never say never. And I'll also throw in the fact that if he were to be made available, then you would have other teams absolutely getting in the mix. The Phillies and the Dodgers, they got a lot of good prospects. They've been having a lot of injuries with this pitching staff this year. So to add someone like Miller here, I think that would be amazing for them. But again, do I expect Miller to get moved? Probably not, but I love the idea though. Up next from Cleveland HQ, he says the Guardians acquired Dalton Rushing and prospects for Emmanuel Clase. Here's another juicy trade proposal, and I think Dalton Rushing is very intriguing. Now, former top 100 prospect, former top prospect with the Dodgers, very good hitter, solid catcher, but he's blocked with the Dodgers right now. Will Smith, he's your long-term catcher. Freddie Freeman, he's still under contract for another couple of years. Sure, could you put him out in the outfield? Yeah, but I wonder if the Dodgers would dangle him in a possible trade, and I think you could line up with something with the Guardians for Emmanuel Clase. They've been connected with Clase over the last couple of years in different rumors, and he's having another solid year, FIP at a 2.31, still one of the best closers in the game. And with the Dodgers right now, they have a ton of relievers on the IL. I mean, take a look at this. Tanner Scott, he just went on the IL with elbow inflammation. You already lost Michael Kopech, Evan Phillips, Blake Trinan. So they need something for this bullpen. I think Clase would make a lot of sense. And for the Guardians, I think Dalton Rushing would make a lot of sense. They need another hitter in this lineup. They need a bit more thump in here as well. Sure, Jose Ramirez, Steven Kwan, very good in this lineup, but they need another bat here, and this would give Rushing an opportunity. Now, Bo Naylor is the Guardians catcher right now, but he's good defensively, but there's not really much of a bat there. I see Bo Naylor being more of a backup at this point, and then Dalton Rushing can be your everyday catcher. So I like the idea of this for both teams. Now, when it comes to a trade, Rushing, he still has very good value because he's a catching prospect. And like I said, not too long ago, former top 100 prospect, good hitter. So yeah, he's going to have a lot of value here. And with Emmanuel Clase, he still has very good value as well. He's under contract until next year. And then there's a couple of club options for 2027 and 28. So yeah, I think this could make sense for both sides. Now, would Dalton Rushing come along with prospects? Well, I'm not so sure about that because he is going to have more value than Clase. But whatever it ends up being, I do see the fit here for both sides. The Dodgers, they get a much-needed bullpen arm, and the Guardians, they get a hitter. And for Dalton Rushing, that gives him an opportunity to play every day. But do I see this trade happening? Well, I don't know. You never know what's going to happen. But do I like the idea? Absolutely. Cole Dunstan says the Braves start selling, and he mentions Sean Murphy and Marcell Ozuna. What the heck happened to the Braves this year, man? 44-56, 12 games under 500, 13.5 out in the East, 10.5 out in the wild card race. Could they go on a miraculous second half run? Sure, but it's not looking very good in Atlanta right now. I do expect some kind of a sell. Now, do I expect a fire sale? Absolutely not. Austin Riley, Matt Olson, they're not going to go anywhere. Ronald Acuna Jr., no, he's not going anywhere. They're going to keep all of these core guys intact because the Braves, they want to compete every single year. So I think they try to go for a bit of a reload here for 2026. Now, could I see them moving guys like Marcell Ozuna, maybe even someone like Rafael Montero, Raisel Iglesias, who are going to be free agents soon? Yeah, I think that's possible, right? Expiring contracts, get back some value while you still can. Now, I also don't think it's out of the question for the Braves to look into moving Sean Murphy. Now, Drake Baldwin, he's really broken out with the Braves this year. They've been sharing the catching duties, but if Drake Baldwin is going to be your long-term guy and Sean Murphy, who's north of 30, I could see the Braves looking into the possibilities here. And Sean Murphy, he's got some solid value, so he would be able to bring something decent back in return. Maybe the Padres here, right? The Padres, they could use a bit of a boost at catcher. And Marcell Ozuna, we have been getting a couple of reports in the last day or two that maybe the Padres are showing interest in Ozuna. They could use another hitter there as well. I don't know. Maybe you could do some kind of a package deal. Sean Murphy, Marcell Ozuna, perhaps? I don't know. Whatever it may be, I could see these guys getting moved. Raisel Iglesias, he's had a down year as well, but maybe a team could take him on, maybe try to get him back on track, has a very good track record. So either way, whatever it is, I definitely think these guys could be on the table, but I don't expect a giant fire sale with the Braves. I could honestly even see the Braves looking to maybe use one of these guys in a deal to help bring back some cost-controlled talent that could help them for next year and beyond. Up next from Jake, he says Eugenio Suarez goes to New York, but not the Yankees. Ooh, it keeps getting juicier over here. By the way, I love this handle. Jake from Hate Farm. That is an amazing handle, my friend. Now, Eugenio Suarez, one of the best offensive players in the game, hitting 254, 325 on base, a 598 on the slugging, a 150 WRC plus, 36 homers. Eugenio Suarez is going to be a massive upgrade for a team down the stretch. And could that team be the New York Mets? I've talked about this recently. I think the Mets need one more bat in this lineup. I know you got Nimmo, Lindor, Soto, Alonso. McNeil's been pretty solid, but towards the bottom of the order, you are lacking a little bit. Mark Vientos, he has really struggled this year after a breakout year last year. Brett Beatty, he's been a little better this year, but I just think you need another bat here. I think Eugenio Suarez would fit perfectly at third base. Ronnie Mauricio, he can move around a little bit, second base, whatever it may be. I think the Mets would be a very good trade partner as well, and maybe you could do a package here. I've already talked about the Mets, maybe getting some more pitching, so you can do Eugenio Suarez, Merrill Kelly, if not Kelly, perhaps Zach Gallen, whatever it may be. I think this would be a very nice package for the Mets to get back, and they got some solid pitching within their farm system. They could send back to Arizona. Brandon Sproat, he really rose up a lot of prospect rankings last year. He has struggled this year, but for the D-backs, they need to get some more pitching within their organization. And with Brandon Sproat, there's definitely a lot of upside with him. Maybe a couple more here. Jonathan Santucci, Jack Wenninger, these guys are having pretty solid years. So I think the Mets could be a good trade partner here, but I still got my eyes on the Yankees here. I think he'd be a perfect fit. They've been looking for an answer at third base all season now. DJ LeMahieu got DFA'd. Oswald Peraza hasn't really been able to do much. Jazz Chisholm, he needs to stay at second base in my opinion. So Suarez, he would be perfect, give you more power in the middle of that lineup. And I do think they could use one more arm in the rotation, whether that's Merrill Kelly or Zach Gallen. Maybe Zach Gallen with Matt Matt Blake. Maybe they can come up with something to get him back on track, whatever it may be. But the Yankees, they have some good pitching prospects they could send back as well, like their number 2 prospect, Cam Schlittler. My goodness, that is a tongue twister, ladies and gentlemen. But he's the number 2 prospect in their system right now. He's been having a very good year down in the minor leagues. Maybe this could be an opportunity for the Yankees to sell high on him. If not him, maybe Bryce Cunningham. You got Carlos LaGrange, Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, Ben Hess. So they got some pitching they could send back as well. But I do think Suarez is going to end up in New York, whether that's the Mets or the Yankees. But if I were to lean one way right now, I would give the edge to the Yankees. Cam Schlittler, if they were to send him back, he has been performing very well this year, much better than Brandon Sproats. So I feel like the Diamondbacks could be more comfortable with him. And they got some other guys performing well too. So I think the Yankees, just based off of how well these guys have been doing this year, I think right now they would have the better package. And one more thing, you don't have to do a package here. You could just trade Eugenio Suarez to the Yankees or the Mets, whatever it may be. And then the D-backs, if they wanted to, they can trade Kelly somewhere else, try to maximize the value with him. Or Zach Gallen, maybe they could find a taker for him too. And last but not least, from VKWY8DU, I don't know what that means, but the Red Sox hover over 500 at the deadline, and Breslow buys, keeping Duran and Bregman and going out to get guys like Merrill Kelly and Josh Naylor. Now, please excuse Draft Nick Robbie here. I mean, let's be real. The Red Sox are one of the more talked about teams at the deadline this year, so I don't want to hear it. Now, I do think the Red Sox need to add a couple of players, especially a number 2 for the rotation. Obviously, Garrett Crochet, one of the best pitchers in baseball this year. But behind him, you're lacking a little bit in the 2 spot. I think they're fine in the mid to back end of the rotation. All right, you got Lucas Giolito, Brian Bayo, Richard Fitz, but Walker Buehler, he's been extremely inconsistent this year. Now, the hot name for the Red Sox over the last couple of weeks has been Joe Ryan, but I talked about him earlier. I don't know if the Twins are going to move on from him. They would get a massive package in return, but I think for the Red Sox, after trading for Garrett Crochet this past offseason, are they going to want to give up a lot of more prospects here? I'm not so sure about that. So that's where, if you were to get something done like this, I think it would take a third team, maybe the Padres, where Jarren Duran has a lot of value. They would really like to have Duran, and the Twins, maybe they can get some prospects here. I don't know, but I don't know if the Twins would want to do this. So I think it's just unlikely to land someone like Joe Ryan, especially at the deadline. Maybe in the offseason when you have more time to digest things, but at the deadline, this probably is a bit too much. Now, I could absolutely see the Red Sox going after Merrill Kelly, a solid veteran guy who was doing very well in the postseason just a couple of years ago. I could see the Red Sox being more comfortable giving up whatever the price would be for Merrill Kelly. Now, another spot that I think the Red Sox need to upgrade is first base. Now, you got Romy Gonzalez, who's been mashing lefties this year, but Abraham Toro, the numbers, they're starting to come down a little bit over the last month. He gets on base, but not a whole lot of pop from Toro. So I think the Red Sox could look to make an upgrade there. And yeah, I could totally see Josh Naylor. He's having a solid year, 449 on the slugging, or maybe Ryan O'Hearn in division. He has experience in the AL East. I could see the Red Sox looking to him as well. So I think in the end, it's more likely the Red Sox look to make a couple of rental moves instead of a big one like Joe Ryan. But I'm still going to leave open the possibility that they could move Jarren Duran. Now, again, he has a lot of value, but the Red Sox have a surplus of position players right now, especially in the outfield. You got Roman Anthony, Cedar Rafaela, Wilyer Abreu. Wilyer Abreu leads the Red Sox in home runs. Good defense out in right field. I don't think they're going to want to move on from him. So to me, I think Duran is the odd man out. And like I said, the Padres, they're very interested in Jarren Duran. Could they do a deal straight up? I don't think it's impossible. Maybe you could get back a number 2 in Dylan Cease. He is going to be a rental. He's definitely going to be going into free agency this offseason. Scott Boris Klein, he's going to be looking for a big payday. He is struggling this year, but the metrics still look very good with Dylan Cease. So maybe a change of scenery could be the best thing. And for the Padres, maybe they're comfortable with what they have in the rotation with Yu Darvish, Nick Pivetta. So maybe they could do something like this, and they would have to send back someone like Jeremiah Estrada, very good reliever with a lot of years of control, so he's going to have good value, and maybe a couple of pitching prospects on top of it, like Cash Mayfield, Boston Bateman. They're top 2 pitching prospects within the organization. AJ Preller, he's very aggressive. you know that he loves Jarren Duran and he's going to do whatever he can to try to land him. Maybe you could still get another team involved here, but I still think Duran could end up being moved. I also leave open the possibility for another team. Maybe the Red Sox could go to the Reds where they could use another bat out there as well. They got a lot of pitching there. Maybe someone like Andrew Abbott could come back in return, whatever it may be. But again, I think Jarren Duran could get moved. I think it's unlikely, but I'm going to leave open the possibility. But everybody, that's all I got for this episode of Hot Takes. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If you can on the way out, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.